G'day guys and welcome. Just here to have a look at yesterday's really good win against Essendon at the MCG. Lots to like about it. Obviously areas of concern. We know that. We know where this team's at right here, right now. But we are all just hoping, and we need proof on a week-to-week basis that we're heading in the right direction. And we're getting little bits of proof here and there. It's not going to be enough to get me overly excited at the moment, other than the fact that I liked what I saw yesterday in a number of different areas. It was always, in the end, going to be a bit of a shootout, and a blessing in disguise in the end that it was a shootout, because I think in terms of our development and our growth, we were forced in the end to really find a way to score, and to score heavily. The fact that the Bombers got off to a bit of a flyer forced us to possibly change the way we wanted to play in regards to speed of ball movement. We looked terrific at times in regards to our efficiency, and we were in the end taken out of our comfort zone. High scoring hasn't been part of our DNA. For a long time now, for various reasons. I think this year we've seen a little bit that we can score, but it's always still a little bit laborious. To kick 19 goals, 123 points, we had to find a way to do that. And I'm hoping now that we understand that we have it in us, and we have to be conscious about the opposition. No disrespect to Essendon, we have to be conscious about the opposition. They know where they're at, but we know where we're at. But surely that says we can do it. We can do it. We can find 10 goal scorers. We can be comprehensively beaten inside 50, but still win the game comfortably in the end. And I know it got close, with a few minutes to go, but I thought in the end we always had it under control. And I was actually a little bit disappointed that when Cripper kicked that goal that I think put us 28 points up, or wherever it was in that last quarter, that we didn't really go for the throat of Essendon. And I think a really powerful, good side would have done that. I think a Western Bulldogs, a Richmond, would have really pushed away and made that, instead of a 28-point win or a 16-point in the end it was for us, would have made that into a 45-point win or a 50-point win. And that's where we're at. Okay, that's the next stage for us. So when we had that opportunity to really go for it, when we had momentum, to really take those chances. But I was wrapped to the fact that 2 weeks ago I was savage on the fact that people were saying, yeah, but we beat Port Adelaide, we had more inside 50s, we smashed them in inside 50s, and I basically said, well, who gives a fuck about inside 50s? It means jack shit unless you're an efficient football team. And that's what I saw yesterday. I saw a team that was more efficient than the other. And I don't think I've been able to say that a lot about the Carlton Football Club, particularly under David Teague. So I think that was a little step forward for me from this game. Look, this game was never going to be won in the end. Unless it was going to be a team contribution. And when you're behind like the way we were, and it wasn't a huge margin, and the good thing was we were able to at least put some scoreboard pressure on ourselves in that first quarter. I thought their goals came really easy, but we know they can score with a rush. We know that, and they forced us to score ourselves. We've seen them kick some big scores this year themselves. I mean, remember that game against St Kilda? I think they went 6 goals in the first, 6 goals in the third, and then 6 in the last. I think they had an 8-quarter second term against Hawthorn in round 1, and then they piled on 6 in the Anzac Day game last week against Collingwood. So we know they can score, and they did that with us. They did that in the first quarter, but to stay in a little bit of distance with 4 goals ourselves was a good sign, I thought, because if that was 12 months earlier, when we were really struggling in first quarters, and I mentioned this in the preview, that could have been a 6-0 first quarter, and game would have been over. And I never thought, even when they got out to, what did they get out to? Was it 4 goals at one stage? I never thought we were out of the game. The only thing that was really worrying me was, did we have it in us? Did we have it in us to score, possibly score 100 points? Because I thought in the end that this game, you would have had to score 100 points to win this game. And we found a way to do that. And you need a team contribution across the whole board. Obviously, Sam Walsh was absolutely outstanding again. But apart from Walsh, I think it was a pretty even spread throughout. I didn't really find any passengers in this team. There was obviously guys who probably didn't have games they would have liked. I thought Jones was beaten by Hooker, but I wouldn't say he had a horror. And there was a few guys that maybe could have done a little bit more. But in regards of a team effort, you don't win games like that and come back the way we did unless there is a pretty much even contribution across the 22. And even SBS, when he came on and replaced Paddy Dow, made a really solid contribution himself, particularly in that last quarter, which was pleasing for him as well. But I couldn't be more pleased with our efficiency. We were beaten comprehensively in inside 50s, but to be able to win the game and have 10 multiple goal kickers was really good. To have 3 small forwards, I mean, isn't it just great? I mean, to have a big key forward, Harry, who I thought once again was outstanding, didn't have it all his own way in the first half, but just became a huge presence as the game wore on. But to then have I don't know, I haven't seen it for a long time, and I bang on about small forwards. I really do, and how important they are to your make-up inside forward 50. And to get 8 goals, I think it was 3 from Eddie, 3 from Owies, and a couple from Fogarty. And I don't know whether that trio is going to be the trio that's going to take us to finals or a premiership in the future, but they all play with energy, and they were all really clinical as well. They didn't need a lot of opportunities to really hurt the opposition on the scoreboard, and I was really rapt for Matt Owies. As I said, I don't know whether moving forward it's one game. He didn't win a lot of the ball, but he was aggressive. He was cheeky. He got himself into some really good positions, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing him play again. He's going to have his work cut out against him against the Western Bulldogs next week. It was good to see Eddie being pretty sharp and really hit the scoreboard, which he failed to do the week before, where he hit 4 behinds. And I thought Fogarty just continues to be, a real revelation for us after coming across from Geelong. And I thought they were some really classy finishes by him, particularly the one in the last quarter on the left foot was absolutely fantastic. Disappointing for Gov with that hamstring injury. That hurts us structurally. We just cannot take a break. Thought he was starting to really show something, and that's going to be a really interesting one to see how we cover him. Hopefully Jack Silvani's right to go for our game against the Western Bulldogs next week. It was the selection. The selection for me was great by Teague. He copped a fair load of crap on social media after the teams were released on Saturday night. I'm happy with selection. I'm happy that blokes are being forced now to, and I'm not going to get into the debate about the senior guys. I'm just not going to do it because I'm actually just going to trust they know what they're doing. Well, they might know what they're doing, but they'll live and die by their decisions. But I think what Teague is doing, and we often talk about making statements, I think he's not making statements in terms of standards, and it's actually quite a brave move, because I don't necessarily think he's putting the most talented team out on the park at the moment by any stretch of the imagination. And I know that we have some injuries, and we'll get some key personnel back over the next month or so. And I think when I looked at that side on paper that took on Essendon, I just thought it doesn't actually look that good on paper. and you look at Luke Parks, rookie, Matt Owies, category B rookie, Michael Gibbons, supplementary rookie, Matthew Cottrell, supplementary rookie, Jack Nunes, the listed free agent, Levi Casbolt, former rookie, Ed Kona, former rookie. It's a real block of blue collar blues, as I'm calling them now. And I reckon Teague is really making a real example of the blokes who have probably got more talent, but less of a real want to be part of it, a real work ethic and enthusiasm and energy, and how detrimental that can be to a football team. And for anyone who's played the game will know that. It doesn't matter how much talent you have, unless you bring a real energy to the group and a real work rate to the group, you actually can be, and doesn't matter what spark you can give with a few possessions or whatever, or a few highlights, it's the little things that matter. And for me, it was the little things about Luke Parks that matter. The tackle, the second efforts, and I know he got Harrison Jones kicked a few on him, and there's areas he needs to work on. But his energy and his enthusiasm and just that want just shines through. I can only imagine what it would be like to play next to him and beside him, and just after every goal, he made the effort to get down and celebrate with the group. And the same with Matt Owies, his energy and aggression that he brought to the table. And I love what Matthew Cottrell brings to this football team. I know moving forward he mightn't be the answer, but he's keeping a Lockie O'Brien out of the team, and I'm more than comfortable with that. He went against Nick Cox yesterday, 201 centimetre Nick Cox, held his own, he ran all day. He wasn't super, but he kept Nick Cox intact. And he laid that big tackle in the last quarter, which has stopped their momentum. And I think Teague is really setting a standard. And I think one guy who's benefited from that and has put a real rocket up his arse, and we've seen some really good signs, particularly over the last couple of weeks since he's come into the team, is David Cunningham. And I'm not talking about, his 2 goals and his 25 touches. I'm talking about a David Cunningham who looks like he wants to be out there. I saw a David Cunningham who started brilliantly yesterday because of his aggression, but then he drifted out of the game, and I think the David Cunningham of the past would have gone into his shell and we wouldn't have seen him again. But he fought back really hard, becomes a really damaging player for us. But the thing I noticed about Cunningham was his body language. He wanted to get involved in the tough stuff. In the melees, there was one situation where he fumbled the ball down at the City end and went out of bounds, and it was a clear fumble by him, and he had a bit of space, and he was savage on himself. Not dip their head or just walk back to his spot, but savage on himself. And he played accordingly. He got back on his bike and became a really good contributor. And I think Paddy Dow actually started the same way. So these blokes who are biding their time in the twos at the moment, I think they're fully aware. The likes of Setterfield, O'Brien, Kennedy, Tom Williamson, unless they bring the appropriate work rate and the appropriate energy and enthusiasm to the group, and they're going to get their opportunities, then they're not going to get a game, and they're going to have to bide their time in the VFL until they find a way. They just have to knock the door down and show they really want to be a part of it. Look, the concerns for me, obviously the inside 50s, not so much of a concern when you're an efficient football team like we were. I thought out of the centre, I didn't think we took full advantage of that, considering Pitnet up against a first gamer. I thought what we were beaten 13-21 wasn't a good result. I don't think we can be a sustainable football team if we don't sort out that centre square. Maybe getting DeConning back in there will help, but that's an area of a concern for me. And I think defensively, It's still a work in progress, and now the challenge for us will be to try and find that balance between attack, which we showed we could do, but also defence, and that becomes around not just our back six, who I think I think they had their moments individually, but as a collective, I was a little bit disappointed in their ability to work with each other. I thought, and I mentioned Parks before, but I think, a young player, I didn't think he was helped out. And I think, the third and fourth man up, we're still not good at that. And I just think there was too many ground ball gets. And to let Hooker kick 5, Stringer kick 3, and Tipper kick 4, and Jones kick 3, I don't think that's going to cut it against quality opposition. I really don't. And I just think as a collective, our back six need to really tighten up and work a lot better with each other. Because at the moment we are leaking too many goals. But individually down there, they had their moments and they were really good. I thought Sard had 677 metres gained, which is 200 metres up on his average for this season. And I spoke in the preview about his counterpart in Nick Hind, who had as much as the ball as Sard, but only had 387 metres gained. It was a big output by Adam Sard against his old club. And I thought he was significant in that second quarter to get us back in the game. I thought Weeder's intercept marking was really strong. 11 marks, 9 of those intercept possessions, and the 5 tackles as well. I think Stocker, and I think Parks and Stocker as young defenders down there, has certainly showed a lot of spunk. Stocker 6 tackles, and then that opportunity, well, not opportunity, but when he went back with the flight of the ball and showed some real courage, was just great to see. And him as well has got a real presence about him as well, but there's still a little bit of work to do with him. And I think Doc, for the first time this year, he probably didn't win as much as the ball, but at least he used it a lot better. And I think I can't remember Doc making too many mistakes by hand or foot. But I suppose the most disappointing aspect about all that was the fact that, Essendon were able to score pretty freely. And that also comes down to our midfield, and whether our midfield and wingers, not just our, not just our midfield, but wingers. That's why I'm happy, I suppose, with Cottrell, because I did find him pushing right back deep in defence. Whether we have the capabilities to work hard enough defensively on the chase. And in the end, it ended up being a very open game. All in all, though, a really good effort. A really good effort by the boys. Particularly happy, some outstanding performance. Obviously, Sammy Walsh, absolutely outstanding once again. Check out the votes we do for My Blue Heaven for the MVP. I mean, the award is all over. I mean, it's amazing. The season he is putting together for a third-year player, it is simply out of this world. But it's not. We mustn't get too carried away with individuals, because for me it's all about the team. But when you have someone like Sam Walsh who's doing what he's doing as a third-year player, you can't. It's impossible not to admire it from an individual point of view. That's it. I'll be back during the week, guys, for a full preview of our big Sunday round 8 clash against the Western Bulldogs. I'll do that on a Friday. For now, it's bye.